Surprisingly, ancient Christian manuscripts provide us with several candidates. For centuries, the word serpent was applied to a number of different beasts with similar characteristics. There are detailed catalogues of these creatures that just may lead us to Eve's legged serpent. This is an 800-year-old bestiary, a book of beasts.
Bestiaries are part of an extraordinarily long-lived tradition going into the Middle Ages, but one which has its roots going way back into the classical world. The one I'm looking at, dated to around the 12th century, you can actually see the pores of skin where the hide of the animal has been scraped, the hair has been scraped away, and on the other side you can see the veins on the flesh side. So it's a book about beasts, and it's made from the skin of beasts.
In the ancient bestiaries, great attention was given to bizarre, exotic, and monstrous creatures, and the possible suspects for Eve's serpent, the legged snakes and salamanders, played the most powerful roles.
Here in this bestiary, a remarkable picture pertaining to the salamander, quite different from the creatures that we know today. We have a dead man lying on the ground. We have to the right a series of snake-like salamanders emerging from flames, and on the other side, the tail of a salamander disappearing into a well to infect it. And above a spreading tree with salamanders winding round the branches to eat the apples and infect them to kill the man below. The salamander is what it says. I'll translate part of it. Among all poisonous creatures, it has the greatest power. For other poisonous creatures kill one by one, but this creature kills very many people at the same time. For if it snakes its way into a tree, it can infect all the apples with poison, and anyone who eats those apples, it kills. Because this text mentions the salamander poisoning apples by climbing into a tree, very early on, it gets associated then with the serpent in the Garden of Eden.
Could the serpent described in Genesis be a poisonous salamandra? If we go back in time, long before these bestiaries were written, we find a biblical commentary over 1,600 years old, and in it, Eve's serpent has some tree poisoning talents.
In this text called the Apocalypse of Moses, Eve tells her children her own version of what happened with the tree and the serpent. And in her version, she says that the serpent poured the poison of his wickedness, which is lust, into the fruit of the tree, and then took and bent down the branch low so that Eve could reach it, and she reached and took the fruit and ate of it. And as soon as she did, she knew everything had changed.
This manuscript tells us that the serpent in Genesis poisoned the fruit of the tree before giving it to Eve, and the later bestiary image shows the creature known as the salamandra doing exactly the same thing. It leads us to a surprising new theory. The biblical serpent with legs may actually have been a salamander. Amazingly, many salamanders living today are poisonous. But could they really be powerful enough to poison the fruit of a tree?
This little guy is a fire salamander. When he's full grown, he'll measure about 10 inches long. Now, he's called a fire salamander for two reasons. Number one, his skin is marked with a very fiery pattern, so a warning to predators. He has these beautiful, vivid yellow and orange markings in his body, which advertise the fact that he secretes venom onto his skin, which is why I'm going to have to wash my hands carefully after handling this little guy. In the Middle Ages, it was thought that they are highly venomous, to the extent that there were legends about how a single salamander poisoned a river and killed thousands of people. In truth, the venom is not particularly powerful, certainly not enough to kill a person. The other reason why he's called a fire salamander is because of the ancient belief that he's generated in fire. People thought that salamanders were born in fire, and the medieval commentaries explain that blood therefore renders one fireproof.